Like notes to the hourglass, these are the songs of our lives.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Songs of Our Lives. I am Brad Rose. I'm a musician, a composer, a writer, the founder of Foxy Digitalis, and someone who thinks about sound and music far more than is healthy. Each week I invite on a guest, often a musician, and we talk about the songs that have kind of left their mark and been with them on whatever journey they're on. I don't know. It's the, the stuff that's important that you can't get away from. This week, my guest is the one and only Andrew Weathers. Was really excited to have Andrew on here because I think he's been part of, in one way or another, of so much music over the last, I don't even know how long, decade plus, that has been really important to me. Beyond like his own music and his own projects, his solo stuff, his duo with Gretchen Korsmo, Windtide, which I love that stuff. Quick mention of their tape on Notice Tapes that came out towards the end of 2023. He also is an audio engineer and has mastered so many incredible records and really helped those records shine. So Andrew's awesome. And we had so much fun. This was just, I don't know, like when we did this over Zoom, and it was just, it just made my day. We did it, I think, like pretty early in the day, and like, mid-morning, and it just really, God, I remember walking away from it just thinking like, gosh, this was just fulfilling. So highly recommend checking out his newest record, A Cardinal with a Sign of Blood. It is a absolutely beautiful, tremendous record, and it is unlike anything. I can't think of a record I've heard that sounds like this, that is conceptually like this. Yeah, I just can't get enough of it. It is out now on Full Spectrum, which is the label that he co-runs, and talk about a rabbit hole of incredible music. But anyway, as I mentioned, we recorded this on Zoom, I don't know, a month ago, and had a wonderful time. Made me feel really good. I hope it does the same for you. My guest today is a musician, a songwriter, and has genuinely probably mastered, I don't know, 653 of my favorite records of the last decade. So, welcome to the show, Andrew Weathers.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Okay, so before we get into this, like I said, I want to talk about the new record, A Cardinal with a Sign of Blood. I know you've talked about how like this record is sort of one of the most important records to you that you've ever made, and I'm just curious if you could talk about that a little bit. Like what about this record has really? I know that they all mean a lot, right? All our records are our children or whatever, but what is it about this one?
I think it happened to hit a bunch of really different things where it is it's a record that is about like my family and specifically my dad that I was working on. I was working on it while he was like extremely ill, and then I finished it after he passed away. And so that timing was important in terms of just like being able to conceive of something huge in my life. And we all use music to kind of like cope with things and try to understand the world around us. And this record's different. And just from a creative standpoint, like I think I made this record in a really different way from anything else that that I've made, and it was a really satisfying creative process that I think resulted in some music that honestly, like, I don't know of anybody making music like this. I don't know if music like this exists, and um, even for myself, it just was an entirely different thing. So it just happened to hit some important life milestones, I think. And I think it comes across on the record, and it's just something that I'm pretty proud of, and is the first. I've released some LPs under my old Andrew Weathers Ensemble moniker, but this is the first LP that I've released under just my own name, and that's uh it's like that. We all know records are like an investment of time and money, and like that's the intention. It's like this is something that was worth spending a lot of money on, trying to do the best in the best possible way. And so I hope that comes across. But yeah, that's kind of the brunt of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I was really intrigued, because there's a lot of talk about tapes that your father made. I mean, I guess the answer to this is yes, but so was he documenting stuff like that, like all the time?
It's really funny. There were a lot of just like random answering machine tapes and like things like that I was drawing from, and that was a lot of the kind of more found sound elements, where it would just be this weird recording of like room sound or whatever. But there was also this stack of, it was like quarter-inch reel-to-reel that obviously was from when my dad was a kid, and I don't know why he would have had this thing. Like, I don't know who gave it to him, but just judging by like the time frame of things, I think it was when he was 12 or 13, and that was, I think, where the most interesting things came from, where he was kind of recording. It sounded like dinner parties, and then recording like conversations that his sister, my aunt, was having like on the phone. And you can just see a kid just like putting a microphone under the door or whatever. But then there were also one tape in particular was his recording of him and his friend John McKeithen kind of having this experience where they were seeing UFOs and kind of communicating with aliens in this way that kids do, and like running around the neighborhood. And that was that story of that childhood experience was something that my dad told me his whole life.
Wow, that's so cool. Did you have any idea about, I mean, like, how did you find this stuff, or did you have any idea like he had made these recordings or anything until?
No, I had no idea. It's kind of like, my folks both retired, and my mom has been going through like simultaneously doing a bunch of like family genealogy stuff, and also just going through boxes and boxes of photos and like just memorabilia boxes. And she basically just handed me a stack of like reel tapes and cassette tapes and all these things, and she was like, I think you can deal with this. Can you digitize all of this for me? And of course I wasn't intending to like make a record out of it, but I was just going through these tapes for my mom so she could have a record of these and throw away the physical tape and clean up her house a little bit. And I did enough of those tapes, and I started just like pulling out chunks as I went, and I was like, this is kind of an interesting sound, like this thing is weird. And so I ended up with all of this material and started constructing something around it.
That's so interesting. And I think it's interesting too, just thinking about that, like these ways that maybe we are, because obviously you have made a life out of recorded sound, and and like these ways that, oh, we have these connections to our parents or our family that maybe we didn't even know about. And um it's really fascinating to like listening to the record then and thinking about all these different contexts and relating it to my life in different ways. I mean, it's it's really special.
Yeah, I think it's a special thing, and it is sound is something that we can work with in this very like alive way, of it. We have this sound like playback, and for those moments we can kind of like reach into the past or reach into our own memory or whatever. And that's kind of thinking about sound in that way as like some form of time travel, was why there's a couple pieces on the record that are duets, and those are recordings of my dad just like practicing clarinet or piano or whatever as a kid, that I kind of manipulated those recordings and then played them back using my grandfather, my dad's dad, his old violin as kind of a speaker and a resonator. And so I was improvising guitar along with that. And so trying to just make this this kind of density of memory for myself, where I'm listening to my family. And it was kind of intense to do just at my studio, just
Sure.
working with this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting in that way. Like sound is this, I mean, it is a way of time traveling, because it's like a way of being in the room with that person and communicating in a way, even like across. It's so cool. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's like that's kind of that aspect of sound is kind of what to me this whole Songs of Our Lives feels like. Absolutely. Is that like we have these kind of vectors to engage with really dense memory and like sense of self. And it's, songs are one thing, but we also have like soundscape and found sound to do this. And that's kind of, that's largely the intention of the record.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. I mean, that's doing these episodes. It becomes less about the songs, and it's amazing how you get to know somebody just by talking about these songs. So, well, I guess that is the perfect segue to get into this. So, to start, what is the first song that you remember?
The first, I was thinking about this, and first memories are really funny. I can't remember a specific time of hearing this song, but my mom loves Motown music, like that I think is like her favorite music of all time. Nice. And so obviously the Temptations, My Girl, is like maybe I'm sure this is debatable by people who are more deep into it, but that's like kind of the pinnacle of that music. And it's a song that I remember just being around me all the time and having these focused moments of, that song coming on somewhere and my mom just like reacting like, oh, hell yes. So like this is it. And kind of experiencing that. Those are my first memories of experiencing like deep love of music and seeing like what the value of this is in our lives. And it's a brilliant song, of course.
I mean, like what a banger to be your earliest memory.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I always think it's interesting too. Like early memories are a really interesting thing, and I think for a lot of us, they're often very, for obvious reasons, closely associated to our parents. Like, for me, it's like Beach Boys and Bob Dylan records, and it's the same. And they still, like, even those songs, even though it's not necessarily something I put on all the time, listen to all the time. It's like anytime I hear one of those songs, it's like it has this. I have this reaction that I can't control in a way, and it's really cool.
I mean, it's huge to kind of live with this music is really an amazing thing, because like the Beach Boys are huge in my life too. That was some of my folks' favorite music, and that was like early music that I also kind of started to adopt as my own.
Yeah, same. Well, that's cool. Well, I guess thinking about the emotion of it all, what is the song that often makes you cry, or at least if it doesn't make you actually cry, it makes you feel, that feeling?
Yeah. It's like, these days it doesn't take much to make me cry. So music especially, but I think, do you know this band Oscar?
I don't. It's funny. Because I made notes about all these things, and it's like I don't know this band, but I know, like, I don't know what our age difference is. But it's like it's like the bands that were, I don't know, 5 years before this that were doing this. It's like I have that same experience. So it's like I hadn't heard this, but I felt it.
It's like the zone it's in. Like they put out like 2 records on Epitaph in the early 2000s, and like kind of disappeared after that. I think that they were probably like 18 when they were recording this music.
Wow.
But their second record, Idol Will Kill, is like legitimately, I think it's a perfect record. Like it's, if not my favorite record of all time, like one of my favorites.
Wow.
And I've lived with that record my whole life. Like it came out, I think, when I was like 11 or 12, and somehow I found it, and like it's been with me since then. And so the song Kinetic on that record, it's like in the back half of the record, is just, I kind of like weep on hearing it almost no matter what. And it's this song and you can hear that he's like a young dude, like a teenager, kind of like coping with the fact that he's getting old and like losing steam a little bit. And you just see this, now, like I'm 35 and I see that, I'm like, dude, you're 20, like shut the fuck up. But it's really there's a thing about it, this kind of like weird navel gazing, like woe is me feeling that it just brings me back to like kind of all of these different moments where this record has helped me. And it's, I was thinking about it when I was like putting this list together, that like I've spent 20 years with music by Oscar. And that's really kind of nuts. And so all of those songs, but Kinetic in particular, just has so much like buried in it and within it for me that like I can't even really explain why I cried at that song in particular, but that's just the one,
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, when I was like 14, in that age, like West Coast punk, and I don't know where they're from, but like West Coast punk was like this obviously I have a fucking podcast about Rancid. Like
I mean, they're from San Diego. Like it's that same group of folks.
Yeah. And there are songs like not this song, but songs like this where it just puts me in a very specific place and I can feel the emotion. And you know, when you're, yeah, like, I mean, shit, I'm 44 and hearing a 20-year-old think about like, oh, I'm getting old. It's like, dude. But I also remember being like 20 and 21 and thinking, and at the time I was working some shit retail job with a bunch of like 17 and 18-year-olds and thinking like, God, I'm old. I'm getting like, I can't keep up with these kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like I said, I hadn't heard this, but it was, there's a lot of stuff that we will talk about that I'm like, I haven't heard this band, but I know this thing.
Yeah.
Well, kind of on the opposite side of that, like, what is a song that will always put you in a better mood?
Do you know this group, Highwaymen, that was like kind of like a country music super group?
Yeah, it was like the country version of like the Traveling Wilburys or something. Right?
Yeah. It's like Waylon and Willie and Johnny Cash and Chris Christopherson, and their hit is also called Highwaymen.
Love it.
And yeah, and it's amazing, and it's like fucking Johnny Cash singing about being an astronaut and like all this. It's just such a nutty tune. But the production is really, it's in that kind of like 80s countrypolitan mode that I love. And like when the town that I lived in for a long time, Littlefield, is the hometown of Waylon Jennings. And so when we bought the property and like we're getting ready to move out there, got really deep into Waylon Jennings.
Nice.
And like this, at the same time, there's like a documentary about the Highwaymen coming out.
Oh,
and
wow.
It really is this thing where they're like these four dudes that are just kind of best buds and made a band to hang out with each other and like play all of their favorite tunes together. And it just kind of like, that particular song just encompasses a lot of like hope and the kind of really the point of music for me, which is like being with the people that I love. And so that tune, and it's just like, it just rips. It's just a great song.
Yeah, it's one of my notes here is it's like Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson hanging out on a yacht being weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Yeah, and it's like they're each like singing about this like weird reincarnation thing of just like, I was a highwayman, but then I came back as a sailor or whatever. And it's just, it's like really bizarre.
Yeah, I remember when I first heard this, a while ago, and just my first reaction being like, what the fuck? And then but it's, there's a level, like you said, it's a bunch of dudes hanging out with their friends, having a good time, and making, and like that feeling and that sort of spirit is so embedded in the music that I can totally understand why this would put you in a better mood. Like, you can't help but smile when you listen to this.
Yeah, totally.
And like anything like those four dudes are up to. Come on. Well, what, Andrew Weathers, is objectively the best song of all time?
Dude, this was a really hard one.
Good.
I mean, obviously. But I think that like this American Analog set is like, I think maybe the like pinnacle of a rock band to me, that they had this like very particular sound and they've gone for it for years. And also I've just been thinking about them because they just released their first record in 18 years.
Right.
It's fantastic, and like I haven't really heard anybody talk about it or anything except for Mari, who's like the only other person who loves Amen Set that I know.
That tracks.
Yeah. But their song, it's like the first song on Know by Heart is punk as fuck, and I think it's just it's a perfect song. Like the tone of the snare drum is great. Like it's catchy without being like sing-songy or corny. The vocals are perfect, and it has this like very particular mood, and especially as an album opener, it's just like it hits, and like it kind of like contains the rest of the record within it, and that's just an amazing thing to do as just a songwriter. And yeah, I just love that song so much. I love that band so much. And yeah.
I think that's like a really, both of those things, being able to, take your entire album and encapsulate it in a song in a way that doesn't feel like, I don't know, that feels so hard to me. But also what you were saying about how it's like so catchy, but it's not corny. Like walking that line, like to be as catchy as this is, like there's songs that are catchy and, like corniness doesn't even enter into it, but like there's a level of catchiness that it's almost always corny. Right. I feel like this song gets there without the corn. I don't know how they do it. It doesn't feel like it's possible to do, but
the whole Amen set thing doesn't seem possible, where it's so focused that it kind of to me it reads a lot like the first Velvet Underground record, where it's just this like weirdly primordial music that just it feels like it's always been there, and that it is totally effortless and just existed, and the band just kind of like pulled it out of the air for us and is now doing it.
And it's really interesting too, thinking about that, because there are I don't know if there's a lot of music like that, but like I think about like a lot of Terry Riley stuff to me, or like Laraji. Those are musics that feel like they exist in the ether and they just pulled them down and they're there. But this kind of music, to have that feeling again, it seems impossible.
Totally. And I think I'm convinced that like that feeling comes from like Amen Set's like willingness to be repetitive, where there's so many sections on all their records where they're just like grooving on a thing, and you just sit with it, and it's great. It's perfect.
Yeah, and I think they're also one of those bands that, and this is something I think about a lot. Like when you hear something of theirs, whether it's their stuff that just came out or their, like, it's them, and and it's like their sound is their sound, and it's not, some bands it's like you got an album come out and then 2 years later here's your next album that sounds totally different. It's this totally other thing, and then which do what you want. Either thing is great. I always use Phil Neblock as an example. He's done the same thing for 60 years and he's the best to ever do it. But I feel like they're kind of in that vein where it's like they have their thing and they are just so good at it, and they're just constantly refining that thing. And
well, and it's weird, like I could just not be aware, but I don't feel like anyone has glommed on to their thing and tried to make like, oh, we should start a band that sounds like Amen Set or whatever. Because I don't know how you'd even do that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe people have tried and then quickly realize, oh, this is this is a no-go. Well, I think that that is an answer I never would have seen coming, but I love it, and that's why I love it's great. Okay, well, let's move on from the greatest song ever written to a song what's a song you used to love but now it's a bit not so great.
Well, I mean, it's funny because it's like I still kind of love it, but I hear this song and just it's really embarrassing. But the band Under Oath for a long time was one of my favorites in high school. And they're like the single on, I guess what was their blow up album, They're Only Chasing Safety, was Reinventing Your Exit. And it's just like kind of the like quintessential like early aughts mainstream screamo song. It's like it's catchy. There's a guy singing like too high in his range. There's another guy screaming a lot, and like they're all wearing like very tight pants. And it's I hear it now and I'm just like, oh, this is like really awful songwriting. This is just like constructing a song in the most boring way possible. But for it just, it's catchy, it hits, and it is like, you know, it is an example of this very specific era that sucked.
Yeah, I'm still laughing at the tight pants thing, but
yeah,
there is a lot of screaming. I don't know. I feel like I've heard a lot of stuff that sounds vaguely like this, and I know of a lot, but it's just better.
Yeah.
But again,
and I mean, they blew up. They were huge for a long. I mean, I feel like they're probably still huge. Honestly, their recent records are really good. But it's just like it feels like cash grab music,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good description. Well, on the kind of flip side of that, what's a song that most people, a lot of people, some group of people hate, but you don't give a shit? You love it.
I've played multiple venues that have a little sign backstage or like on the stage that say no wagon wheel. Like you are not allowed to play the song Wagon Wheel.
Oh my God.
And I get that because we've all heard that song so many times, but I really love that song.
I love it too.
And it's like, it's not just because I'm from North Carolina and they talk about Raleigh and all of this shit, but like, I think it's a great song. Like embarrassingly, in the early days that I was touring, I would often, have a banjo and I would busk like before in the afternoon before shows or whatever to try to like make a little extra money to get through because I was playing like laptop ambient and not, there's no audience for that. And so, and I would play Wagon Wheel among a lot of other songs, but it's I get why people hate it. I don't fault them. And the Darius Rucker version is not as good as the Old Crow Medicine Show version, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm there for the original or the Old Crow Medicine, the old, whatever the fuck. I love it too. I'm with you. Like I get it, but I love it. And isn't like the story of it somewhere like where it was like part of it like was written, I don't know, long time ago. Then it was like 25 years later they recorded the rest of it or some crazy. I don't know. I swear.
Yeah, I think like the chorus is like an unrecorded Bob Dylan song or something like. There is some. I don't know exactly, but there is some story to it.
Yeah. Well, if I ever get you up to Tulsa, then put Wagon Wheel in the set and I'll
yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Well, do you think of yourself as a romantic?
It's like maybe.
Yeah.
That is one of those things where like I think there are like maybe like 6 people on the earth who would say that I'm a romantic, and the rest of the people on the earth would never know.
I relate to that very much. Yes.
Yeah, which probably is like it's for the best that it's that way.
Right.
But,
well, so on that note, what do you think is the most romantic song?
This one I had a hard time with because it's like there is this thing of just like how we think of romantic music as being like like Sade or something like that. And like I love R&B and I love music like that. And there is like a really like wonderful sense of romance to that music. But ultimately I kind of felt like there's a Smog song called Truth Serum that I think is really sweet and like it has been in my life as like a romantic marker. And it's, I think it has this really beautiful kind of like quietude and delicacy that feels like it doesn't feel like hot, but it feels like really quiet romance in a way that I relate to and really love.
Yeah, I really like this one too. I think it's there. I think that that lightness of it. I think one of the things for me that really sort of like heightens the romantic vibe of it is Jim White and the way he plays drums on it. And it kind of focuses all that energy or something. And then just, I'm a sucker for a duet like this with like get Callahan and shit. I can't remember who the other vocalist is now. But yeah, it's what a song.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful song. And I think that like kind of kicker of like, honey, I love you and that's all you need to know is just like huge, just pretty crushing.
Yeah, it is. It's great choice. Well, what is a song that changed your perspective on an artist? And it's funny, when I wrote this question, I was thinking of it like in a positive way, like you heard a song and it changed your perspective on somebody for the better. But then I did one of the early episodes, and somebody took it the other way of like, oh, this song told me this group was done, like they were terrible. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So now I'm always wondering like, oh, where are people going to go with this? So
where are we? This one actually made an artist click for me.
Okay.
So Roy Orbison is one of my mom's favorite artists. And I remember as a kid when I was like getting into music, she bought me this Roy Orbison tape that was, of course, like all of the ballads and all the hits.
Right.
And I didn't really connect with it. I didn't really dig it. And then driving around West Texas, he's from Wink, Texas. And there's a really wonderful Roy Orbison museum in town that like, it's like part of town hall, and there's a list of phone numbers on the door, and you have to call people in town to see like who picks up and will let you into the museum. And then like inside they have Roy Orbison sunglasses, and they're just like, do you want to put them on? And like,
oh my God.
It's this totally goofy thing. It's so funny. And funny, they have one of those like walls with bricks of donors listed on it. And there's a brick that has Chris Corsano, Northampton, Massachusetts, on it. And I remember seeing that and just thinking like, that rips that Chris is like, I guess, a big enough Roy Orbison fan to have donated enough to pay for a brick.
Amazing.
But so, I went to this museum just because it's out there, and ended up listening to a bunch of Roy Orbison music because I knew, I was like, this didn't connect when I was a kid. Maybe it's time. And I Drove All Night is like latter day Roy Orbison, like mid 80s, with this like insane like new wave production value to it. And for what, like, I don't know, it just hit. And the lyrics are wildly creepy and like problematic and weird, but like it's a great song. And I think it just made me connect with what he's doing, of being this like really amazing vocalist who just like rocks the fuck out of a ballad. And that was my entry into the rest of his catalog. And I think because of that, I kind of prefer the latter day. Like there was that album that David Lynch produced where he re-recorded his back catalog, that I think is like brilliant, and it's like the sort of thing that you hear about it and it sounds kind of like, why would somebody do that? But it's amazing. Like his voice really like matured into something truly incredible, and now like I'm like a huge Roy Orbison fan.
That's awesome. I don't remember when Roy Orbison clicked for me, but there is no voice like his voice.
No.
And and I love on this song, I really love the sort of the music and his voice in some ways almost feel at odds, because like the music is just like this relentless sort of churning, and then he's just this like phantom angel like over it's amazing.
It's so beautiful, and like well, who sings like that? It's nuts.
Roy Orbison does.
Yeah, Roy Orbison does. We got nobody else. So Roy Orbison is like one of my all-time favorites. No,
that's awesome. I want to go to that museum now, really bad.
Oh, dude, you really got it. It's really something special. And Wink is like, Wink is such a weird place. It's surrounded by all country, like to the point where like there are oil fields on either side of Wink that have drained out from under the earth, and the Wink is sinking slowly into the ground. It's nuts. Okay,
putting it on the list.
Going up to Wink.
That's great. Okay, well, what are your favorite lyrics, whether it's a song, like a whole song, a line from a song? What's the one?
For me, that's been Hot Water Music, Trusty Chords, where there is this like kind of one liner in the middle of it. It's the chorus of like, I hate this place, but I love these chords, where like, of course you're like, yeah, man, like, music, that's the best. But then the whole song is just, and I think this might also just be like indicative of like where I'm at in my life right now, that this song is hitting, that it's just like kind of about being like lonely and like trapped and like drinking too much and just like not really having a place. And like it's really powerful, and just like obviously like Hot Water Music, it just that's some ripping ass music.
It's always like when you're in those places, because we've all been in those places, like not specific, but like having, I don't know, I mean, and it's like almost cliche to not, it's like, but it's stuff like this makes you feel, it's like, okay, it's like, it's not just me, like I'm not like it makes you feel less alone. And again, it's like a cliche cheesy thing, but it's legit. It's like so real. And it's always interesting too, like because I have songs like that where it was like, if I don't know, it's certain parts of my life, like those songs were the songs I needed, and then they became just these sort of, like Mount Rushmore songs for me or whatever. And it's something that people, you talk about it, people are like, what? It's like, no, it's and that's why I love this, because it's like, who knew? But it does rip though. So
it's so funny because it's like, it has this surface texture of just being like, this is just kind of like a kind of like very masculine pop punk song. Like it can't possibly be about that much or be something so valuable. But like, I think they really hit something there, and like you live with this music and it becomes Mount Rushmore for you.
And I'm gonna skip this question because it's also the answer to the last question, and so we can talk about it at the same time. If I'm right, if I remember your answers right, like the song you listen to the most is there's two. It's the answer.
You know, I put the song that I listened to the most as there were some of them where I just had to pick two, and I was gonna pick which one I talked about.
Okay.
I talked about.
I guess that's true because for one of them you picked like 5.
yeah. The song that means most.
Okay.
I picked like, and I'm just gonna pick one when we talk about that.
Perfect.
But the song. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So what is the song that you can or have listened to the most? Let's just go with that.
It's also a song that makes me cry. Is Wonder Years Passing Through a Screen Door. Do you know this band?
No, I had never heard. This was one I had never heard, and it made me like, it instantly made me feel things.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's like, it's like they're like early 20 teens, like pop punk. And this song is off their record Greatest Generation, and like I think it came out in like 2010 or 2011, and since then it's just been, that whole record is just like my favorite pop punk record. And that song in particular, it's just all about kind of like being a loser, and like it's about like being on tour, and this thing of just like, like my cousins all have lives and people who care about them, and I'm just like driving and like filthy and in these basements, and like it's a lot, man. And it is this thing of just like, it really captures those moments where like I've chosen this life, and I have no recourse, and it captures the moments of like that being really hard, and in a big way. And I just, there are a lot of moments like that, and so I listen to this song a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I relate to that. So I mean, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this relate to that, because I'm the same way. It's like, my sister is, she's like a nurse practitioner and has this amazing, and I think, and I'm in this weird place where, and so as we're recording this, it's the beginning of November. This will probably come out in a month, but like, I just have this exhibition at the biggest museum in town, which is the first time I feel like most of my family are like, oh my God, you're like a real, like so like now I'm suddenly legit, at least for this minute. Right. And that's so like, it feels really good, but it's also, but fuck, man, I've been like this other, like for 30 years, I've been killing myself.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing, is that like what we do exists in such like a narrow band of the world. And like, it takes these moments of other people recognizing like, oh, you're kind of doing a real thing. And it comes so late.
No, and we
don't get that many of those moments.
No, so I'm savoring every fucking second of it, because I know it's fleeting.
But it's like, that's huge that you got to do that. That's amazing. Like, you got interviewed by the fucking the news station. Like, that's wild. And it's like, it's of course well deserved, but like, I know the feeling of like, where were all of you when I did something that was like more meaningful, or like, more work, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. I mean, and it's been a very surreal experience, but that's most of what this life is in a lot of ways. Well, okay. What is the last song that you completely fell in love with?
This is a weird one. I found this song this summer. And it's like, it was something that like somebody from North Carolina that I know on Instagram, like just posted like, this is my friend's new song, check it out. And for whatever reason, I checked it out, and the artist is Gay Meat. I don't know who they are, but like, and the discography is there's like only a few records, but the song's Lychee Ice, and it's like a perfect pop song. Like the tone of the guitar is amazing. It has this thing of like these kind of like switching out words, but like repeating the same melody and words, but switching out a word here and there that I really love. And it feels too short, which is great. And like it just is like a really perfect song. And I've been listening to it like I listened to it yesterday, over and over again. And I don't know what it is, but I just think it's a fantastic song and worth checking out.
Yeah, I had never heard of this or anything, and I was immediately taken by it. Like, there's something really endearing about it, and it's and like you said, it leaves you. It's like it's the first rule, man. Leave them wanting more. Like,
totally. And it does a thing that I really love, where it's like he's singing about like all of these things, and they're all just like inside jokes and like references to his own life and his relationships with his friends. And like it doesn't really it's like, I don't know what lychee ice is. I think it's like a e-cigarette flavor or something. But like it's like, you know, the specificity of it allows you to like kind of like gloss your own life onto it. And I really like, I love it when a songwriter does that well.
Yeah, I have no idea what lychee ice is. I was thinking, it's like, oh, is he talking about like a snow cone or something? Because that's
well, if you watch the music video, there's like one little moment where he has like, it's like a close up on like, it looks like a vape pen or something that says lychee ice, and I was like, oh, I guess that's what that is.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Funny. I'm really glad that you put this on. I'm very happy to have this song in my life, and so I hope more people check it out. Okay, well, we're in the home stretch here, into the two big questions. So, Andrew Weathers, what is the song that means the most to you?
Oh yeah, you know, I put a lot on here, and it's hard to pick, and I'm like, I want to talk about them all, but I think there's this artist Hiroshi Sato who is kind of like, I think he's a little more well known now than when I found this music. He was kind of like Japanese city music, 80s and 90s. There's a song called Blue and Moody Music that I just really love, and it was something that I found on a blog somewhere years ago, and it just like lived on my phone forever and ever. And like I listened to it a lot, like driving around Southern California, at a very like formative period that I think just like shaped my entire life. And like I don't listen to this song a lot, you know, but it really is. It is so tied to like a lot of like really meaningful, happy stuff.
Yeah, it's a great song. I'm a sucker for the Lindrum all over that album.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
totally.
But yeah, that's cool. I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about the songs, because I really love it, but I love, again, we all have songs like that where it's like there's this, you know, these formative periods of our lives where there was like one or two songs that are so like embody that, and it's always really interesting to revisit those things. And I don't know, like for me, I can use those things, especially like when I'm in a rough place. It's like, okay, let me put this on as a sort of reminder that it wasn't always this fucked.
yeah. That it's like, no, man, like there have been good times, and like to have music that is so attached to those good times is really helpful and powerful.
It's always interesting to me too. Like I think, you know, kind of going back to what we were talking about, you know, like our families and stuff, and people be like, what the fuck is it you do? I don't understand. But how, like, for some people, and this isn't a judgment call at all, but just like music isn't that big of a deal, and they don't have those things. And I always think about that of like, God, I can't even imagine like where where people look at me like, my sister or brother-in-law look at me like you're an alien. It's the same thing the other way around.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, these things, it's I don't know how anybody remembers anything without music. It's like that's the biggest trigger for me, to just like think about, oh, like this shit happened.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, so many of my memories are tied to yeah. Well, to wrap this all up, Andrew Weathers, thank you for doing this and being so open and honest. But what is your, at least at this moment in time, what is your favorite song?
The song Merit by the band The Progress. The Progress were like a New Jersey pop punk band. Now the lead guy in that band does a thing called Into It Over It, which I think is pretty well known. But the song Merit is like, I especially in pop punk, I have a no slow songs rule that like I don't think anybody like, if you're a pop punk band, never write a slow song unless you are The Progress. And it's like, it's this really beautiful, pretty short song that comes in the middle of this like rock, like pretty rockin' pop punk record. And it's just kind of like e-bowed guitars and vocals, and there's like a drum loop in there. And it's kind of melancholy and about, it's, this is all making me realize that all of my favorite songs are about music and touring and like being kind of like a weird fuck up musician. And this song is all about kind of like trying to like hold your memories of people and like hang on to that and like acknowledge the kind of like growth and new changes in the people that you love.
I gotta listen to this whole record, because imagining this in the middle of like a bunch of like pop punk song and stuff. Wow.
It's like, it's such a move. And like nobody can, everybody fucks it up. Nobody does it right. Cause you hear the slow song and you're like, no, dude, like, don't give me this like feeling stuff. But like, I think the tone of it, the shift is just really perfect, and it's short, but it hits really quick, and it's not like melodramatic. It is just like this. It's just a feeling, and it's really wonderful, and like I think a song, it's like that song has been with me since high school, and The Progress are like a band that I've come back to over and over again, and like it doesn't really get old. Like that, the record Merit is just amazing, and it's cool. I think that's the standout song for me because it's so different, and like it shows this kind of interest in arrangement that I really appreciate, of like a song doesn't have to be like, even though we're a guitar band, like we can do some other things with it. And it kind of like, I think if you're if one's familiar with Into It Over It, you're like, oh yeah, that's the progression, that's the link between these bands,
That's cool. Yeah, I'm gonna go listen to the whole thing. I really loved how it's this was very like textural and
Yeah.
like it. I never, but it still. I mean, it still has that sort of pop punk vibe to it, but it like it's again. I mean, I feel like this keeps coming up, like these things where it feels like this impossible combination, but when people pull it off, it's just magic.
Yeah, it really is. And is this still in the Patreon section?
Oh no, we're out of the Patreon section.
We're out of the.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell this story. So I did my record, Fuck Everybody, You Can Do Anything. Like I constructed all of the lyrics from Oscar songs, from Drake songs, and a bunch of Progress songs, including this song. And a few months ago, I can't remember his name. I feel like a jerk, but the singer of Into It Over It and the Progress emailed me and was like, "Hey man, like I saw that you like I love this record, and then I realized you shouted out the Progress," and I was like kind of blown away because I never would have thought that it would have found its way to him. And I wrote this email that he's like, I love this stuff. Maybe like we can do some music together. And that was like amazing because I would love to produce a record with him or anything really. And I think that he didn't realize that like I actually just ripped off all of his lyrics. And so I wrote an email that was like, "Man, thank you so much for music. Like I like use your lyrics and like they're so meaningful to me, and like, you know, I'm just kind of like I never would have anticipated you actually hearing this music." And I think maybe he didn't realize that I was using his lyrics, and he never wrote me back after that. And that's okay. I get that. I never asked. I didn't ask for permission, and like because it's just like I'm just like some chud. Like no one's ever gonna hear this. But if he does, maybe that'll come back around one day.
That's amazing. That is like the perfect story to end this on. I don't know. I don't know if I've heard that record.
Yeah,
I'll have to go look it up after we.
Yeah, I think that came out in 2015 when Foxy was.
That was that was when I'd gone to ground.
yeah. A much deserved break.
Yeah, wish it had been in better circumstances, but we won't bore the listeners with that. Well, like I said, that is a perfect story to end this on. So,
yeah,
A Cardinal with the Sign of Blood is out now on Full Spectrum. I'm assuming it's on Full Spectrum.
Yeah, it's on Full Spectrum.
Anything else coming up in the next couple months you want to plug?
I'm having this like rush of records coming out at the end of the year, which is kind of cool. I have a solo saxophone tape out on Sound Holes in a couple weeks, or it's probably out now by the time anybody hears it. There's a quartet record with me, Jason Kahn, Gretchen Korsmo, and AF Jones that is out on Personal Archives, which I'm really proud of, really stoked about. And yeah, that's the brunt of it. I'm always releasing music, too much music, but there's more. But Cardinal is the big one, you know?
Yeah, solidarity. I'm always releasing too much music. And I'll never stop.
Yeah, totally.
All right, well, everybody stay tuned. And Andrew, thank you for taking the time.
Anytime, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Brad.
Once again, thank you to Andrew Weathers for hanging out, talking about some songs. It was awesome. You got to hear Cardinal with the Sign of Blood. Check out his website. He's got like he said, he's got so many things coming out. Full Spectrum. All those links are in the show notes. There is a link to all of his picks in the show notes as well, which it is a pretty damn fun little mix. And yeah, that's it for this week. Thanks as always for listening. You can support Songs of Our Lives and Foxy Digitalis on Patreon, patreon.com/Foxy Digitalis. You get an extra section for each episode. You get them a week early, plus a bunch of other stuff. And, you know, if you don't want to throw any money at that and join the Patreon, which is, you know, totally understandable, at least take some of that money and maybe go buy one of Andrew's records. Otherwise, you know where to find me, foxydigitalis.zone, whatever social media, holler at me, send me an email, send me a voicemail, do whatever. And while you're doing it, listen to whatever the hell you want.